Ivan, how you doing, my friend?
What's going on, Mike?
Hey, welcome to another edition of the Halatek Hall Show. This is your host, Michael Halatek. As always, joined by my co-host and producer, the guy that a friend of ours likes to say, refer to him as the Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife. Get a kick out of that every time I hear Sean say that. What a busy week, and particular a busy morning at Halatek Hall today.
Yeah, it was fun. The Bears, they're right where I think they should be, right where I expected they should be, even though everybody's kind of really high because, we have Justin Fields, obviously. But, there's some really hard questions that you're going to have to ask really, really soon, or answer, really, really soon. And, it's hard to get... It's hard to get too down. But it's hard to ignore glaring questions, especially on the offensive line.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are, and we'll get into all the ups and downs here real quick. But before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to a guy and his mom. About 10 days ago, he was on Twitter. He's a big fan of Greg Bragg's, and he was hoping to get tickets to Lake Forest for his mom, for he and his mom. His name is Jason. His mother's name is Dawn. I'm not going to mention last names, but Jason's dad passed away about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and 2 years ago, his mom came down with breast cancer. So we got a hold of Jason, and TixBlitz sent Jason and his mom, Dawn, to the Bears game this past Saturday. Nice. So I just wanted to do a shout out. My dad, I don't know if you know this or not, but my dad was a season ticket holder. It's where I got my love for the team. That's why I've been able to attend games literally since I've been in diapers. And my dad also died from cancer when I was 15 years old in 1972. He took me to the opening game against Atlanta. Literally was the last thing he ever did. 3.5 weeks later, he succumbed to the cancer that he had been fighting since 1967. So when I read that story, my heart just went out to Dawn. And I actually, last Friday, I was actually hoping to have them on the show to surprise them live last Wednesday. But the tickets weren't in my possession yet. They didn't arrive until Friday. But I did get a chance to, Jason actually sent me a video when he surprised his mom and actually showed him the tickets on his phone. And then a few minutes later, I actually gave her a call and had a nice chat with her. And needless to say, there were a lot of tears, but they were all happy tears. So
do you have the video, Mike? Or?
I thought I had sent it to you. I will try to send it to you here in let me try to send it to you right now, because he sent it to me.
The only thing I got was which I saw live today, which was kind of cool, was Justin Fields, the Justin Fields thing. But yeah, send it to me and I'll put it up right now.
If I can, I will definitely try to. Copy message. Ivan.
What's up, Alex? How are
you doing? It should be in your messages on Twitter.
All right, let's check it
out. But so to Dawn and to Jason, I hope you enjoyed. Definitely, I hope you enjoyed the game. I know you enjoyed the outcome, and both of Justin Fields' touchdowns were toward the end zone where they were sitting. So I was so happy to be able to have TixBlitz take care of that for him. TixBlitz, the best sponsor in the world. I couldn't ask for a better sponsor. So thank you to TixBlitz and to Jordan and to Dawn. I hope you had a great time. So hopefully I don't know if you can pull it up, great. If you can't, that's okay.
It's not letting me pull it up. It's not even letting me pull it up from the link you sent.
Hang on one second. Maybe this is going to be a little archaic way of doing things, but
well, I mean, we could just wait, Mike. We could do that. We could do that at the break real quick. We could just continue on.
We can do that. You were at camp. You were at the preseason game. You were at the Family Fest. I'm so jealous. So share with me some of what you saw. We've got a special guest. Is he in the green room?
Oh yeah, he's ready to go.
Okay. Well, why don't we bring Kenneth Davis from Undersitter Podcast and That's Davis Show is joining us for the first half of this week's show. So, Kenneth, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. What's up, Mike? What's up, Ivan? I'm happy to hear what happened with Don and Jason, but I was sad to hear what happened with his father and your father. I didn't know you lost your father so early. I lost my father when I was like 23.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Man,
That's going to be brutal.
15 years old. We went to the Atlanta Falcons game, opening day of the 72 season. My dad never left the game early. And it was at the end of the third quarter. And now get this, my father, 52 years old, I'm 15. He asks me if it's okay if we left early. Okay. We went home. He went straight to bed. Never left the bed until I came home from school on Wednesday. So that's 3 days. He was bedridden. I got home from school. There was a note on the kitchen table saying took Dad to the hospital. And exactly 3 weeks from that day, he passed away from the cancer that he had been fighting for about 5.5 years.
Wow.
But, obviously the memory is very vivid, painfully so, because you just can't ever, forget things like that. But I'm sorry to hear that your dad passed away when you were at a young age as well.
Yeah, but we had a great relationship, so that's one of the best parts. I finally remember him, to say the least.
Absolutely. Kenneth, Ivan's going to tell us a little bit about his Bears adventures. He was at FanFest. I don't know if you were. He tried
to pull me in, and he didn't reply to me either. Let you know, I think he was upset with me, Michael. All right. He was like, "Ken, I got a ticket." And I'm like, "Dude, until school starts, I mean, I work from home, but until school starts, my kids are here. So I'm here until school starts. So I'm not going anywhere until school starts, and that their natural babysitter is taking care of them, and I'm free during the school day or whatever." But I appreciate it, Ivan. But yeah, please tell us what you noticed when you went to practice.
He went to FanFest.
Okay.
He went to the game Saturday.
I saw that too.
He went to training camp today. So, Ivan, the floor is yours. Tell us about your experiences and what you liked, what you didn't like, and then we'll move on with the rest of the show because we got a lot to cover.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, honestly, the obvious is Justin Fields. You know what I mean? He's obviously the shining star of the entire camp. But, the one thing I would say is that defense is just they're faster. They're stingy. They're stingy. They got an attitude about them. Like they don't like there's something that they don't like that you can't really figure out, but like they don't like it about you. You know what I mean? There's just an attitude about the Chicago Bears defense that I have like come to enjoy with the past couple times I've been able to see them at practice and during the preseason game. The offensive line, like I said, in the prelude to the show, I was saying we could. All right, Jason Peters is fine. We signed to Jason Peters, a vet. I know he's going to know what the hell he needs to do. What if that goes awry? Because obviously, he's older. He's how's that wear and tear? You know what I mean? How's that wear and tear on that body? And I like the next man up mentality. I like the depth that they have. But if you're questioning, guys that you have that were depth pieces that you had already, and you had to go bring in a Jason Peters, and I know Tevin Jenkins is hurt as well, but you had guys in there already. I feel like you should have been comfortable at least a few of them. Adding a Pro Bowl, well, a former Pro Bowl left tackle, an older former Pro Bowl left tackle, Jason Peters. It scares me a bit. Like, can he still have something in the tank? Of course, but I still question it. Like, with how we saw the offensive line at the beginning of last season. They came about. They came to formation a little bit at the end of last season, but with the problems that they've had, you question that, and on top of that, you're scared because you don't want a Tevin Jenkins, and I know that they've said that the surgery is somewhat normal, typical. It's a typical back surgery. It's a non-serious back surgery, if that makes any sense. To me, the person is not having it. Right. To me, any back surgery, when I hear it on an athlete, I'm like, damn, what? Like a back surgery? Oh my god! It scares you a little bit because we know Chris Williams. I got a ball that I went to a Chicago Rush football game. I got Robbie Gould's autograph, but Chris Williams was there his rookie year, and I got that Muggs autograph too, and he ended up being a bust. He ended up being a huge bust. Back issues, and I'm a little nervous about that. I want Tevin to succeed. I want this entire draft to be the draft that takes the Bears to a level that they haven't seen. You know what I mean? Ever. But you still have to question what they're gonna do with it. Peters was out there today. He was working out. He wasn't in pads. He didn't do any of the workouts, but he was on the sleds. He was doing some stretches. He was doing rope drills, pulling weights. I just question that offensive line still. Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Nick Foles. It doesn't matter who's back there. What are you going to do to solidify this offensive line?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The day started off on the wrong foot when you could tell before Nagy even said one word in the press conference, and Ivan, of course, you couldn't see it because you were on your way to Lake Forest, but you could definitely tell that Nagy was not in a good mood even before his mouth opened. Of course, he had the lead with Tevin. I don't even think he led with Tevin being having surgery, but it came out real quick. So, but they're hoping he'll be back this year. Of course, Schefter came out with a tweet that said that the Bears hope to have him back by November. Now, I haven't heard that from anybody, but for him to say that, of course, he's got to be out there and making waves because that's what his job is. But the interesting thing was with the not having Borum, the Jenkins announcement. One of the things that totally went under the radar was the fact that James Daniels, J.P. Holtz, Roquan, Josh Woods, Trey Roberson, and Robert Quinn all came back to the practice field today, which was good news in light of everything else. And then on top of it all, he had to tell everybody that there was a little bit of they're being overly conservative with Justin Fields. He had a little bit of soreness in a groin, but he was still out there throwing the ball around. He was doing at the end of the practice, they do a bucket drill, and he nailed the bucket, and he was. There was a video of him today throwing a ball 65 yards in the air with no problem whatsoever, and that's with a sore groin. Imagine when he's completely healthy and has a little bit of a start, because all he had was one crow hop and he let it loose 65 yards down the field. So there was a lot of stuff that happened today, and last week when we had the injuries mounting, one of the things I had suggested was maybe they're gonna not do one of the padded practices, and they're going to take it easy. And our good friend from Sports Mockery, Eric Lambert, pointed out to me that Nagy tends to stick to a schedule. But today, of course, what happens? They had the pads on for the beginning, and then everybody went inside and replaced their pads with just jerseys and shells and helmets because of the injury concerns that are mounting for this team, despite the fact that the guys that I just mentioned came back.
Is this for me? Well,
yeah, rock on, man.
I didn't know if it was look, one, I want to know what Berlissimo needs to give us a hint on this news that he has about the O-line that he can't disclose. So don't be out here teasing us, all right, sticking a little leg out and snatching it back. I'm just sitting here, and I wrote it in my notes because I have to record under center after this. I may have to get out a couple minutes earlier. I thought about this. I'm happy about Larry Borom, but I was happy from the point that I thought he was going to get a red shirt year, and we could find out next year, or maybe halfway through next year, a year down the line, who and what type of player he is. Boy, we're definitely going to see Larry Borom on the field this year. You look at the fact that Jason Peters, the last 4 years, has been injured, and he's old. And I'm not saying that in a negative sense. I'm old too, but I'm not sitting there trying to block young Ferraris coming. Yeah, I'm not trying to block Superman coming off the edge. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and this is the thing that kind of slightly agitates me about it, because I was giving the Bears kudos for doing what was common sense. Like, this draft spoke a lot to common sense, and a lot of the things that they've been doing recently spoke to, damn, they see it the way that we're seeing it. Like the holes that the team has and that the fans see. Sometimes it's like, are you paying attention? And I know sometimes, with the draft, the players may not fall to the position where you can draft them, but this draft and everything they did kind of spoke to getting it right. And when they signed Peters, my thought was, I didn't think Tevin Jenkins was going to come back until the season, really, to be honest with you. For the last maybe week and a half, 2 weeks, you could kind of tell because they hadn't really said anything about him progressing or whatever, But when they signed Peters, I was like, all right, that's cool, because Jenkins will be back. Now you look at the situation, like you said, I heard that November's a chance, but they also mentioned it can be the entire season. I read James Daniels in the Tribune talking about, I told him the same thing that people told me. You're young. If you miss this season, it happened early enough in the season so that you can be ready to go at the end of the season. As far as getting the prep ready for the offseason, have a full offseason. If it reminds me of the Colts a week ago or a week and a half ago, where Carson Wentz and Nelson were both either 5 weeks to 12, and everybody was like, whoa, that's a crazy range that you have right now. And I feel like now I'm in the same situation, because it could be November or next season. But the point that I was trying to make, I thought bringing Peters in was a stopgap to where Jenkins would return this year. So I'm like, cool, right? But now if you're telling me we have to ride with Jason Peters for the entire season, I'm concerned with that. You know what I'm saying? Just from being a player that's been injury prone, you're probably going to have to find somebody. And I know, like Elijah Wilkinson said that he necessarily he hasn't adjusted to playing left since he's primarily been a right tackle. He better get on track because, and we saw what happened to this line last year. Just as far as how injuries depleted this line. I'm concerned. I mean, hopefully the middle three stays healthy. And Jermaine Ifedi is here for the majority of the season. But I mean, we're not even talking about the fact that Ifedi hasn't even practiced all preseason, basically. And I mean, I'm not saying he has to be here for the preseason, but if his injury is that bad that he's not going to get any tick in the preseason, it speaks to how severe his injury really is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Couple of things, and I think you mentioned Berlissimo is teasing us.
Yeah.
And Berlissimo, thank you for once again joining our show 2 weeks in a row from across the pond. It's a pleasure to have you in getting your little blurbs on the side. But Kenneth, the Bears, if I'm right about this, players on the PUP list don't count towards your roster in the preseason. Okay, but the Bears cut 2 additional people. Okay, so their roster now stands at 83. They had to be down to 85 yesterday afternoon. They're at 83. So I don't know if Berlissimo might be leaning toward Ifedi being removed from the PUP list, and you still have Cohen on the PUP list. And the way Cohen was running around at practice today and on the sidelines on Saturday, is it just a matter of time before he gets removed from the PUP list? I don't know. So you've got Ifedi and you've got Borum that are hopefully close to returning, which is hopefully what Berlissimo is alluding to. I guess we'll find out. Berlissimo, if you can maybe give us a hint whether it's going to be 24 to 48 hours or on Monday after the preseason game, when we get this good news, it would be nice to know.
I'll say this: with Tariq out, and I know Tariq adds a different element, especially in the passing game and out of the backfield.
You're not as worried?
I'm not as worried. Khalil Herbert is very, very, very capable of being that change of pace back. And I know Damian Williams to me, seeing like there is no change from like there really isn't a drop off from Montgomery to Damian Williams, at least from what I saw during the game and in practice. Tariq Cohen not being there, okay, obviously we would want him there. He's a weapon. We need weapons. We like weapons. But man, with Khalil Herbert, I was texting Phil this today when I was watching. The dude, look, he's explosive. He's very nimble. He's very agile, and I mean he just is aggressive. Like I feel like a Khalil Herbert can be a guy that just out of nowhere, boom, big play, and you cannot necessarily miss a Tariq Cohen as much. And plus, like he can run between the tackles.
Listen, Tariq Cohen is an asset. The fact that, and this is kind of goes back to what I was talking about, using common sense. It never made any sense, the fact that they went into last season and their running backs was basically Cohen, Cordero Patterson, who isn't a running back, and David Montgomery. Like that was such a glaring need. It was ridiculous. The season before, getting rid of Mike Davis like he was nothing and a piece of trash, but we saw what Mike Davis did in Carolina. For them actually to have a room full of running backs, which they should have always had, it lessens the need for Tariq Cohen, but it also tells you a lot that you can use Tariq Cohen a lot more in the passing game than you did in the past because you have these other running backs who can at least run between the tackles, and you don't have to run Tariq between the tackles, even though I still would like to see him at times when teams aren't expecting him perhaps to run between the tackles, they're looking at him as being a passer to get a run or two. But I look forward to Tariq Cohen being back and also going to the 82, of course, with Cohen being on the PUP list during training camp. You knew he was going to come off. It was the ACL. The ACL happened. He's back from the ACL. So I'm not really worried about that. With the Ifedi, I'm happy. If he's coming back early, he proved a lot last year coming from Seattle, moving from guard out to left tackle. I feel secure, and I hope I'm not wrong in that. going into a season with him being the left tackle compared to last year. They're finally moving him around and finding that spot from him since the line was so beat up due to injury. But still, what happens when someone else gets hurt? Because chances are someone's going to get hurt. The line is better than what it was last year because, one, a lot of these young players got the chance last year to get out there and play. Alex Bars and Sam Mustipher got the job at center. But still, you just don't want to go into the season like this. A lot of these lines are beat up like this, like now and around the league, though. But when you draft a young man, and just go back to the second day of the draft. This is the crazy point. I'm going to say this on every show that I'm going to drop it on Halatek Hall first. Do you know how crazy and how upset we would be if the Bears didn't have the opportunity and didn't move up to draft Justin Fields and stayed at 20 and selected Tevin Jenkins, and then Tevin Jenkins misses training camp and has a back surgery? We would blow our roof off right now, dude, if that had taken place. We'd be so upset, and it would feel so much like Gabe Karimi, Chris Williams, Mark Colombo, all those tackles of the past that was supposed to sit there and really establish themselves as the future, and it never came to fruition. But lucky enough, we got Justin Fields, so it kind of eases the pain. But man, I was expecting a lot from Tevin Jenkins, and I just wonder, and I know it's going to be hard to get to the bottom of this. Some teams didn't have him on their board because of that back, and I know that Nagy said that it's not the same situation as the back. But you just wonder sometimes, are they swinging for the fences with players that their medical staff clears that perhaps their medical staff shouldn't clear?
Well, let's only hope. Greg Gabriel was on Twitter a lot this afternoon, downplaying this. Could be even his own network, Barroom Network, was really ragging on Pace and the medical staff, and Gabe says, no, that's not how it works. So it was interesting to see that back and forth because they don't draft him if he doesn't clear medically, from what Gabe was talking about. But to kind of put this to put a head on the OL. Miami has a decent front seven, and you know how many sacks they had on Saturday? That's it. Goose egg, baby. So, and according to, I have it right here, Cynthia Freeland. I love Cynthia Freeland with all of her stats. Fields was only pressured 2 times. The average time to throw by Justin Fields was 3.56 seconds, which is a lot. 2.5 is a lot. Mm-hmm. And despite the fact that he was averaging 3.5 seconds to release the ball, he didn't get sacked. In fact, nobody got sacked. Not even Leadfoot Foles. Dalton didn't get sacked. Berlissimo just commented earlier that he's going to do he put a video out on Wilkinson.
Yeah, I was just checking it out when I jumped off to check it out, and he's not wrong. Elijah Wilkinson did do well. It's
Hambright played almost every offensive snap. And this guy is, he was a 6th or 7th rounder from the year before. I think he spent most of the time on the practice squad. Then Latavius Simmons was the other 7th rounder from that draft. They kind of got some notoriety because of Hambright being Ham and Simmons' nickname is Pig. So we had Ham and the Pig. True story. If you go back and look it up. But so if Hambright played decent, I don't know, Berlissimo would have to tell me otherwise. Wilkinson played pretty damn well. You got Peters coming in. You hopefully have both Ifedi and Borum coming back. You got Daniels back. So you got Daniels, you got Mustipher, Whitehair, and Bars as your interior line. So I'm suddenly not as concerned about Tevin being gone. And the funniest thing about Tevin is I can't tell you how many times on Twitter I saw this guy's first name being misspelled. And you would think that you would know how to spell Tevin by now,
Right.
but that's just Bears Twitter. Bears Twitter became irate like that in the blink of an eye.
There was some blasphemous it's not like.
I mean, we're in abuse.
I'm upset. Like, I don't get me wrong. I'm disappointed, but I'm not
But it
as
was
disappointed.
effusive. It was effusive, Ivan. It was just belligerent. Jonathan Wood and on the score, Dan Bernstein was just the vitriol was just spewing from those guys.
We're an abused fan base. You do know this, right?
Yeah, dude. I've been Bear. I've been a Bear fan since the early 60s.
Right. So I'm not tripping over anybody being upset because something goes bad with the Bears. This isn't like we're the Patriots from the last 20 years and it's like, it's all peaches and cream. No. This was important. And you know what I'm saying? Like this, like it'll be different. You know what? I'm gonna tell you even more why they have the right to be upset. This would be different if you were like, you know what? Tevin Jenkins is gonna come in and challenge Ifedi for the right tackle. What we thought initially. All right. Some of us thought is going to come in and challenge Ifedi for the right tackle position, right? Even though we know Ifedi played well and you had Castillo talking about the athleticism of Ifedi, comparing this to Larry Borum and whatnot, that'll be fine. But when you get rid of Charles Leno and you say this kid is basically starting, I know they told us the competition, BS. He was going to be the starter, basically. Mm-hmm. And now he's gone for the year. Yes, you have the right to be upset. All right, now listen.
I understand that. I understand.
Yeah, the world isn't over, though. The world isn't over. There's still pluses around the team. The season isn't over, but just that one chance, if something went bad, all right, we have this. Now that's gone. And it was a very important piece. So I understand why people are upset.
I feel like Peter, but I feel I look at it like this, and yeah, I understand having that piece is important. But you get a guy like Peters, just like I said, just in simple knowledge and the pedigree at the position has to be better than what we had last year. Like I feel that. Now,
I'm not denying that, but availability is
the best ability.
Yes,
and if he could stay healthy, I think you could it's a good bridge. It's a good bridge. They're talking about Tevin coming back this year. I don't know if he's going to play this year, but they're really talking about it. And if that's a bridge, cool. If he does the job, you're all right. Like I feel like you're all right. But I understand also if the wheels fall off of Peters, now we're in trouble.
Yeah. So news flash, breaking news: the surgery is over. And apparently it was successful for Tevin Jenkins. So let's put that behind us because we've got about 12 minutes left for Kenneth, and we haven't even talked about the game. So on Saturday, there were a few bright spots. Obviously the drive at the end of the first half and then the first two drives of the second half were just absolutely lights out for Justin Fields. He made some key throws. He used his speed. He ran a little bit. He scored his first touchdown after one of his two pressures escaped out the left side on the near side, and there's nobody there. The touchdown. Apparently, they ran this same play on Monday and had the same success, but whoever designed that play was just absolutely it was run to perfection on that touchdown to Jesse James. I hope we see a lot more of that. Jesse James, the outlaw. I love the guy already. But. There were some other guys that I thought were impressive, and I'm going to run them down with you, Kenneth, and you tell me if I'm missing anybody. But, of course, it was Fields. I thought Khalil Herbert was very impressive. Wilkinson at tackle, Ogletree, Snowden, and Jesse James all impressed on Saturday.
Again, displayed his toughness, the 6 touchdown.
Here's that. I love that throw. Am I live?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
No, you're good. You're good, Mike. I took the audio off.
That one, the throw where he escaped the pocket. This throw was absolutely amazing. The throw to him where he escaped on a third. It was 3rd and 9. I think this is the play right here. See where 13 comes out. He starts off on the left. Fields runs toward the line, gets the cornerback to come up, and he just dumps it over for an easy first down. This run by Herbert was to give him 1st and goal before Justin Fields' first touchdown. Was absolutely just a great run. Here's where he gets the pressure. He backs out, rolls around left, and there's nobody there, and he just rolls into the end zone. So there were a lot of good things in this game. But one of the things that I really liked was the defense. Now, the defense, they were on the field for almost 25 minutes in the first half, and they allowed the touchdown on I think it was the last drive of the first half before the field goal drive by Justin Fields. But they were absolutely gassed, and they were still able to hold this team to 13 points. And then, of course, we got the touchdown or the field goal at the end of the half, 2 straight touchdown drives by Fields, and then the late long run by who was it? Pierce that set up the field goal, and then, of course, the long run that Ryan Nall has every preseason. Right. He has at least one long run. To keep him alive for the 53-man squad, but all in all, there were a lot of good things in camp. It seems like almost every defensive back on the roster is making a play. So that's good because I think our front 7 on defense is going to be absolutely stellar. And the enthusiasm that Sean Desai's defense that he's bringing to his defense with the turnover bucket and running around the sideline like a madman. He was up in the booth for the game on Saturday. He's going to be down on the field this Saturday to see which one he likes better. But all in all, there's a lot of good things to talk about with this team.
Yeah, I'll mention Kyrie's Tonga. I'll mention Adams, the receiver that you saw caught that back shoulder pass. I'll say this, though. I think the turnover bucket what is kind of lame, to be honest. I think you got to, like in today's game where, they're down there popping chains in Miami, you got to have something. I mean, it looks, for them to sit there and have this laundry chute and the Bears player jump in the air. I mean, even if you put it like this, if you're going to do it, I mean, it doesn't have to be a 10-foot rim because you don't want them to hurt themselves, but get them like a little 9-foot, get them something because it doesn't look right. I don't even want to sit here and see players get an interception and then they run to jump up in the air and throw something in a bucket. To me, Sean Desai, this is my only Sean Desai critique. He could have came up with something better than that. If he wanted to sit there and have him some type of defensive rallying cry, I think you could have come up with something a tad bit more clever, especially for someone as smart as him, than that. That's just, to me, like that. That's it. Everything was good. It was a preseason game. You know what I'm saying? I had to back myself down from it. Even talking about, for instance, like the sacks, Miami being a blitz-heavy team, wasn't sending the kitchen sink. It wasn't a lot of zero coverage. You know what I'm saying? So it was. I liked it. I thought Deshaun Desai called a good game, even though it was vanilla. You didn't see any of their players really out of place. It was a good game for fan base that was longing to get some reaffirmation about us changing our fortunes after how bad last season was and how happy we were after this past NFL draft.
If they average just over 3 sacks a game, they'll have 50 on the year. 17 times 3 is 51 sacks. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but of course there's that extra game, and 2 turnovers, that's 34 turnovers on the year. And I don't think there is one fan listening to the show or watching the games that would be unhappy with those kind of stats going into this year, considering what a down year those two statistics have had over the last 2 years.
Definitely.
What?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I want to. No. You go ahead. What were you about to say?
I was going to say, well, before we let you go, because you said you needed to buck out of here a couple minutes early to prepare for your podcast, Under Center. Andy Dalton took the microphone after practice today, and he, I got to tell you, the way he has handled, this non-competition, as it were, but the pressure of Justin Fields, because everybody wants Justin to start sooner rather than later. He had a couple of interesting comments that he said. The second of which was, do I want fans behind me and this team and all that kind of stuff? Yes. Do I want them behind Justin? Absolutely, I do. Speaks volumes for the man. The first thing, though, he said was, Justin's going to have his time and Justin's going to have a great career. But right now, it's my time. And so my focus is being the best player I can be for this team and do everything I can to help this team win. That's a direct quote from his presser this earlier today. And I don't care if you're a Dalton basher, a Dalton fan, a Bears fan. You got to love the guy for keeping his dauber on straight. And I just love the guy for what he's doing for the team.
Being that we only seen Andy Dalton from far away, basically with the Bengals, we know the year he had with Dallas last year, I have a new appreciation for him, just in the way that he's gone about this. Listen, we watch all the press conferences. Every question is about Justin. Hey, so when Justin's going to take your job? Hey, so when Justin's going to sit there and sneak into your house and be with your wife? I'm joking, but just still for him to show the poise, and I believe it's genuine. You hear Fields always talk about how good their relationship is and how much Dalton has done for him. I appreciate Andy Dalton. I hope Andy Dalton does well this year. I'm not rooting for Andy Dalton to fail, because I'll tell you this, if Andy Dalton plays well, it only makes Justin Fields have to play even better. You know what I'm saying? And if Andy Dalton's playing well, it gives Justin Fields a great example of what he has to do when he finally gets out there. So I'm not rooting against Andy Dalton and praying for Bears losses. I want Andy Dalton to succeed, and when he reaches his crescendo, I want, if Justin Fields is ready, Matt Nagy to be like, that's cool, Andy, but this kid can do that and more, and it's time to move on to him. And I mean, that's what I would prefer. But I'm with you. I really like Andy Dalton, and he's done nothing but might make me like him even more, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I don't know if you saw the clip from the game coverage where Justin Fields was on the sideline warming up, and Dalton came over to him and kind of gave him a bump. And
yeah, I saw it.
It's your time, man. Let's go out there. And
he told him to go out. Time to go in there. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, that was, you don't see that from one starting quarterback to the back. You never see that kind of stuff. And I just loved him for what he's doing for not only for the Bears, but what he's doing to build Justin up as we move, closer and closer to the regular season. It's hard to believe that the regular season is what, three weeks away.
Right.
So
it's coming fast. It's coming quick.
It's coming so fast. The Bears, the Bears had to cut down to 85 yesterday. They have to cut down to 80 on Tuesday. And then the following week, after the third preseason game, they have to cut all the way down from 80 all the way down to 53. And then that, a couple days later, once everybody clears waivers, they can start adding back. And what is the practice squad is like 15 or 16 players this year. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of players that can make it back to the roster. One important thing is we know.
Mike, we gotta let Ken go. He's got to go do the Under Center podcast. It's 45 right now.
Oh, geez. Hey, Kenneth, it's always a pleasure. I guess I'll have that comment for Wanda when she comes on. But
All
my
right.
friend, it's always a pleasure to have you on. We'll get you on again real soon.
Always appreciate it. You guys continue having a great show.
Thanks, my friend. We'll take a break and hear from Tick Splits. When we come back, we'll finish a couple of thoughts and bring on Wanda Weidman, formerly the Bears beat reporter for our turf football.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of Tick Splits?
Who?
Tick Splits. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TIXBLITZ.com today. TickSplits.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TickSplits.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere. Everywhere.
And of course, with our promo code SportsZone, you can save 5% off the already lowest prices in the ticket industry. Shop TickSplits.com today and use SportsZone to save an additional 5%. We're back on the Halatek Hall show, and we just finished up with Kenneth Davis from our Turf Football, and he had to bug out because he had to get ready for his own podcast. Ivan, I was just getting ready to finish a thought with Kenneth before we had to let him go. And when you get to be my age, it's easy to lose your train of thought because it's a really short train. So I tell you what, the more and more I talk about this team, the more excited I am because there is so much, aside from offensive tackle, there's depth at every position on the offense. And the wide receiver room and the running back room in particular is just absolutely stacked with talent and speed.
Yeah, the speed is what I like. I like the speed. Depth is nice, but if you have nobody that can stretch the field, it's going to be hard to go ahead and get some big chunk plays that the Bears, I know the Bears like. Depth is I feel like depth's been a quiet theme. Like, you see the offensive line. We talked about Elijah Wilkinson. Talk about how Fetty's done well tackle last year going into this year. We were expecting, Tevin Jenkins and Larry Borum to be something. Hopefully we get to see them down the line, this year, hopefully. But I like the depth that the Bears are coming into the season with. And I like the way that majority of the team has been practicing and been playing. Like, it's the defense, like I pointed out, the defense has some type of a chip on their shoulder. I feel like the defense is going to be very, very good. Shocker. But when you look at the offense, I don't other than the questions on the offensive line that I have, I don't see a real reason why they can't be explosive. I don't see a reason why they can't have success. They're being coached well, like the offensive line is obviously being coached well. It's health and availability. I feel like, are we going to have a Swiss cheese line come week 8? Are we going to have to call the reinforcements come the bye week and hope that somebody pans out? Like, that's something that bothers me, seeing how last year panned out and then worrying about somewhat of an older tackle on Peters.
Yeah. So, the one thing that there were a lot of positives to take from Saturday's game. Yeah, it's the first preseason game. Yeah, there were a bunch of second stringers out there, but no Robinson, no Mooney, no Goodwin. We had some chunk plays, to what's their team's name? I can't think his name. Davis. Adams. Davis. I was so close. They both have 5 letters in it, so I was close. You had Herbert's big chunk play to get down to the first and goal at the 9 before Fields ran the ball in. You had the chunk play from Pierce. You had the chunk play from Nall at the end of the game, as they were able to salt away the last 2.5 minutes of the game. So we did have some chunk plays without our starting big guns in the lineup. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how those chunk plays transpire. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of double moves in the preseason. They're going to wait for Los Angeles to come out with those double moves. Everybody has seen the play that Darnell Mooney laid on Ramsey last year, where if they just threw the ball into his hands, he didn't have to catch it in stride. He would have gone for a 96-yard touchdown, which would have set the record for the longest touchdown in Bears history. But unfortunately, he threw the ball 10 yards past him, which was a shame. So I'm excited to see what this offense can do, what they're going to unveil comes Sunday night on September 12th. So with that, is Wanda with us?
Yep, Wanda's ready.
Let's bring Wanda Weidman, formerly the Bears beat reporter on the all-woman website, Our Turf Football. Wanda, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. Good
Pretty
to see you again. I think this we've had you on before, but we had a picture of you. I think this is the first time we actually have live video of you. So it's great to finally meet you in person, even though it's in person virtually. But it's great to see you.
Thank you.
I tell you what, every Wednesday, I send out an agenda to our guests. And this is the first time ever where my guest has decided to write back with all of her answers. She's so excited to talk about the Bears tonight. So without further ado, lay it on us. Give us your thoughts on this Bears team and your thoughts on the first preseason game.
Well, I think the Bears team looks pretty solid. The offensive line, obviously, everybody's worried about. I think we can work with what we have right now. I think also, too, that we tend to forget that, a lot of these other teams that are trying out their offensive lines will also have those that they may cut that we're doing very well, give us an opportunity to do some shopping if we need to. In regards to Tevin Jenkins, I kind of did my own little scouting. I wanted to kind of make sure and not jump the gun like everyone else has. Going through Twitter today was just ridiculous, and just to kind of stand on the integrity of this young man, how much he loves the game of football and wanted so badly to be out there. When you look back, and I looked at several scouting reports, not a lot of the scouting reports even mentioned his back injury that he had in the game against Bedlam with Oklahoma State, and that was he missed like the last 3 games of that season, and decided at that time that he was going to just forget the whole season, his last season, and just train for the draft. In that process, we've also forgotten that he participated in rookie camp. He participated in OTAs. So we got to see a taste of him and what he needed to do. Now, either something happened in those training camps that might have ignited whatever that injury was. It was never stated what that injury was. So it's either going to be a surgery that is going to completely take him out. And depending on the back injury, guys, depends. There's several, and I put it in quotes, common back injuries. There's a common back injury that with the surgery, it can actually weaken the spine. And then there's another one that if it is a herniated disc of some sort, they can repair it. Takes a few weeks, and then they can try to get themselves in there. Back injuries are not that quick to heal from. So that's where I have a little bit of concern for Jenkins and whether he's going to be playing at all this season. I hope that he does, because I think he is just a beast on the field, and I think he would be such an asset to the Bears offensive line. But with what we have, and I think Peters is actually going to be temporary. I think they're probably going to, like I said, shop around and try to get some off of practice squads that may have shown promise, but they can't keep them on. So I think the Bears are going to be leaving that door open. Other than that, I think our wide receivers, we've got a great pool of wide receivers. Really good to finally see Riley Ridley catch a couple, but he's still on the fence. Javon Wims, I don't know what's going on with him, but I don't see him staying on the roster, my personal opinion. But I think we have a really good core. Adams balled out for us in the preseason. Just to see even Herbert doing really great running back. He's got some speed. So that's kind of what we're looking for, something in that sort. And then I think with the defense, we're doing really well with defense. These guys are going to be really hungry, especially seeing how I was a little concerned when Miami got down to the goal line. But then here comes Houston Carson, great interception, able to do what they needed to do. That's what we're looking for. So I want to see a little bit more going into the next preseason games, a lot more on the D-backs and what they're doing in the back field and just being able to hit some of these players, kind of eliminate the separation and be able to stop any of the passing. Because that's really, I mean, let's think about this. It's really going to be a key, especially playing against Green Bay, because of the way that Rodgers plays he balls out and knows that's the Bears' defensive weakness. So if we can nail that really well downfield, in the red zone especially, I think we've got a chance to really be in the playoffs this year if we do well.
I think you're right. Bearlissimo, I know you know Bearlissimo. He was out watching the show earlier today. I don't know if he's still out there because it's getting it's about 1:00 in the morning in London right now. So I don't know if he is still with us or not. But he alluded to a surprise that we're going to be seeing come Saturday. Now, he didn't mention, I'm assuming it's offensive line, but Bearlissimo knows his stuff. He just put out a video going over Wilkinson's performance Saturday. And he surprised a lot of people on Saturday with a pretty decent performance. And as did Arlington Hambright, who played just about every snap on the other side at tackle. And of course, the Bears didn't allow one sack.
Right.
On Saturday. And of course, Miami didn't do any of their exotic blitzes like they're famous for. But even though the Bears got 3 sacks on Miami quarterbacks doing the same basic vanilla stuff, and Snowden was a very nice surprise because he was in the backfield a lot in the second half. So it's interesting to see. We played well offensively, despite all the trepidation Bears Twitter had about our tackles, and we still have Borum and Ifedi that are due to come back, hopefully any day now, to solidify the tackle spot. And of course, they signed Peters. Peters is supposed to take his first snaps tomorrow at camp, according to what Matt Nagy said in this morning's press conference. But so it's going to be obviously interesting. So Wanda, one question I have for you is, of course, for those of you that don't know, Wanda lives out in California. And of course, that's where the Bears are playing their first game. So what are you hearing about the Bears out there in California, aside from what you're hearing on Twitter?
Well, usually some of the people that are out here, especially kind of Rams fans, they're not concerned about the Bears, especially.
Good. I want him to be that way.
Yeah, they're not concerned because they're so confident with Matthew Stafford. They're so confident with their defense, and so they think that their defense is really gonna pressure Dalton. He's going to be another Mike Lennon, and it was just all the trash talk. But what was interesting is in some of the conversations that I was having, I let him know, the defenses, we were pretty matched up pretty well. And you still had Aaron Donald when we had Khalil Mack and the Bears beat the Rams. So it wasn't, and that was even with Trubisky there. So there wasn't a big, deal that there's a greater matchup in the defense. I think what's going to be surprising, and I was really thrilled that we got Alec Ogletree, a former Rams. And so I think he is going to be an exceptional asset to the defense. And knowing some of the reads, I think it's going to be a interesting game and turnaround. I'd love to see Dalton ball out against the Rams. I think it would be fantastic, especially if they can connect with Mooney down the field. We'll see what Ramsey does. But I think a lot of the people out here are not afraid of the Bears. So, they said it would have been different. Though there were a couple, I have to admit, there were a couple of people that said it's a little different because it's not Trubisky as quarterback. It is Dalton. And they do give him some props as a much better veteran quarterback than Foles. So they said that it's very possible that they could give him a run for their money, but they're not too scared.
I tweeted this out earlier today, and you saw it because I know you commented on it. But for our watchers today, let's talk a little bit about Andy Dalton's career in terms of snaps taken from center. Andy Dalton has more snaps from center than both Foles and Trubisky combined. So, he played in the AFC North, which has pretty much been dominated by Pittsburgh for the last 20 years, and led the team to 5 straight playoffs, 5 straight years in the playoffs with a Cincinnati Bengal team. Let that sink in, folks. This guy is not a slouch. Everybody wants Justin Fields sooner than later, but we're going to be going to war at least game 1 unless something happens. And a lot of people are hoping and praying for a Russell Wilson 2.0. So back in 2012,
Right.
Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round draft choice for the Seattle Seahawks. They had just signed a big acquisition. Their new QB1 from Green Bay, Matt Flynn, signed him to a big contract. And Russell Wilson beat him out in training camp and in the preseason games. He started week 1, and the rest is history. He was on the team. He, being Matt Flynn, was on the team for that year. He left the team after that year because they had no need for a high-priced quarterback to back up Russell Wilson. I can't remember he went to after that, and then the following year he's out of football. That's how fast things can happen in the NFL, especially with the quarterback. Look at who's the quarterback that the Arizona Cardinals drafted before Kyler Murray, and he just got released.
Josh Rosen.
Right. So here's a career. He's been in with 4 teams in 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. If you look at Dak Prescott, drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round. He was the 4th or 5th quarterback selected in the 2016 draft. He's the only quarterback all the quarterbacks drafted in front of him that's still with the same team.
Yeah.
It's a high risk, high reward draft when you draft a quarterback in the first couple of rounds. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what transpires for the Bears. Now, I believe the Bears play Cincinnati in week 2 at home in Chicago. And I really think that Andy Dalton's got that game circled on his calendar. I really do. I really do. And I just literally I hope he balls out. I really do. The nice part about our quarterback situation is based on everything that we have seen in camp and what we saw Saturday. And the nice thing for you, Wanda, and for all of the Bear fans all over the country is it's live on NFL Network. Yeah. The game it'll be 3:00 Central or noon Central, 10:00 in the morning, your time. Yep. The following week, I believe it's a 6 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. Central Time start when they have their only road game in the preseason down in Tennessee. So all 3 games of the preseason, the NFL Network is carrying live, so it gives all of Bears Nation a chance to see what this team is doing in the preseason. So it's a lot of fun for a change instead of having to wait. In fact, the NFL Network just replayed the game from 3 until 6:00 Central Time. So I was literally rewatching the game right before our show began, just to watch and I was impressed with the defense, Wanda. I don't know about you, but they were absolutely gassed at the end of the first half when they finally allowed that one touchdown. But 13 points, even though they were on the field for almost 25 minutes playing time in the first half, and then they shut them out in the second half. And they played it very, very well, no matter what string was in the lineup, because there were very few first stringers in. I know Hicks was in there for a while. Mack was in there for a few plays in the first quarter, but not a lot of first stringers in the game. But guys like Bush and Snowden and Tonga and Gibson, they all played well. Artie Burns played. You just go right on down the line. It seemed like everybody was making plays, on defense. And I like what Coach Desai, the enthusiasm that he has brought back to the defensive unit.
Yeah. I think I think he's got that. He's just got that personality that really rubs well with the defense. They've got somebody they like. They got somebody that is challenging them. Even with the takeaways, I love the fact that Desai is really pushing on the takeaways, because if you watch the film and you watch the defense just trying to just rip the ball out of their hands, that's what we want to see. We want to see the aggression. We want to see them be able to put the pressure on and not take the foot off the pedal there, because I think that's what's going to really make a difference, especially in the defense. And just to see like some of these guys just really trying to show, hey, I belong on this team. I want to be on this team, and I'm going to do everything possible. Loved seeing the play from Bush. It's been a while, and to see him just come up and doing some really good plays there. I think we have something special on the defense, and I can't wait to watch it just completely unfold. I did have a problem though with the penalties that we got in the offense. I mean, that was ridiculous. There was just way too many penalties. We shouldn't have that many, and I'm hoping that they really nail that down so that it's not a problem.
Yeah, the one of the most blatant penalties was Javon Wims. He's 10 yards down the field. The ball hadn't even been snapped yet, and he has but in the news on Bears Twitter every day. But but for bad reasons.
Yeah.
Every day it gets reported that a ball hit him right between the numbers, and he didn't hold on to the ball. So it'll be. I don't think he's going to make the team. I just don't. I think he's still eligible for the practice squad, and what he brings to the team in versatility and special teams and blocking, he might be, a decent, because there's 15 or 16 athletes on the practice squad this year. So he would be, nice to be there, and who knows if he gets that wake-up call, gets cut, and goes on the practice squad and ends up having the good fortune to get back on the active roster, it might be the wake-up call that a guy like him needs. Right. So it'll be interesting. But Wanda, one of the things that I wanted to get your opinion on is what Nagy and Pace has done to bring speed into this offense.
Oh my goodness! I think they really hit the mark with Daz Newsome and any of the other players, Marquise Goodwin. These guys are speedsters, and they can really take off on the field, and that's what we're looking for with getting speed down the field. Obviously, Mooney and Robinson. These are four guys that I think are going to be tremendous. I love the new one. I think it's Vea Johnson. John Vea.
John Vea Johnson. He's been he had a blunder in the preseason game where he muffed a punt and rolled back into the it was Justin Fields' last possession of the game, where they ended up starting on their own 2-yard line because he muffed a punt, actually rolled back in the end zone. I saw that happen in the Green Bay Houston game as well, and I'm not sure if that could have just been a touchback, because even though they muffed it and it went into the end zone, it's still in the end zone. I'm not sure on the ruling on that, but panic set in both games. Yeah. The ball got muffed into the end zone, and the receiver returned it and didn't get back, just barely got outside the goal line. So
and there's Demarius Byrd too. So those additions were really good.
Demir Byrd, Goodwin, Daz Newsome didn't test well in speed at the in the preseason, but apparently he and of course he broke his collarbone early at rookie camp, and he was on the PUP list. He just got reinstated at the beginning of last week. He made a couple of nice plays in camp over the last 2 days. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do this week. So there's so much talent. Everybody is talking about the Bears need talent on wide receiver. Like, we have no idea what this wide receiver room is going to be able to do talent-wise, because we've never seen him, in a game. We haven't seen Robinson yet this year. We haven't seen Mooney yet this year. Right. You've got all these other guys that, and the Bears got behind the 8 ball. They didn't. I don't think they had a lot of pass plays designed to the running to the wide receivers in this past game, because they were afraid of whether or not the offensive line was going to hold up. But they did. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this weekend, which leads me to my next question. What are you looking forward to seeing Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, California time?
Oh, gosh. I am, again, looking forward to see the ball down the field. I really want to see some long shots and to see how our guys do in getting separation when they get down the field with our tight ends. I want to see something happening there. Obviously, O-line, see how they work together, how they can prevent the pressure and the sacks on on Dalton. I think Fields will play. I think they're just being extremely cautious right now. There's no reason for, I'm pretty confident, and I know that Nagy's confident in Fields. So he knows what he can do. So resting him out of the practice isn't going to hurt him. That's why he says he wants to give him as many reps as he can. So the preseason game is the perfect, arena for that. And I think he's going to do that in this one as well. But we want to see them take the shots down. We saw way too much of just dink and dunks and 20-yarders down the field last season. We want to see some big plays, see our guys do it, test the field, stretch the field, and see what they bring to us in offense. Because we know the defense is going to be there. I'm pretty confident our defense is going to be there. What I want to see in these preseason games is, can our offense play against other defenses and come out on top? That's what I want to see. If they can do that, Michael, they've got a chance of playing with the big boys the best way.
I think you're right. I'd like to see, one thing we didn't see Saturday that I'd like to see this Saturday is the tight end down the seam in the middle of the field, 20, 25 yards down, and hit him on a strike. That is an absolute staple in Kansas City's offense, in Green Bay's offense, and it would be really interesting to see how effective. Now, of course, Cole Kmet only played the first series,
right?
But this guy Jesse James.
Yeah.
In addition to Ogletree, that they picked up right as camp started, have just been big hits. Yeah. And we were talking about Johnson, John Bay Johnson, and John Bay Johnson and Jesse James, the outlaw, as I like to call him. They're getting most of their reps because they're on the second string, so they're getting most of their reps with Justin Fields. And, Justin Fields has been lighting it up with those two guys.
Right. And you got Horsted, who did pretty well, I guess, in camp today. He had, five touchdowns today?
5 touchdowns in the red zone today.
In the red zone today. So, we'll see if they're going to use him a lot more, see what he has to show. And maybe that would be something to watch in Saturday's game and see if they test him down the middle of the field and see what happens.
Yeah, we haven't heard his name mentioned all off season.
Right.
And all of a sudden today, his name popped up and he was just lights out. Like you said, he had 5 touchdown grabs in red zone. I think 7 on, mostly it was 7 on 7.
7, right.
But I'd rather have his name mentioned that way than how Wim's name has been mentioned. Wim's got hit right in the hands and dropped the ball. Yep. I don't know how many times I've seen that on Twitter. So hate to throw shade at Wim's again in the same segment, but it is what it is, Wanda.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting day. I still have this thing stuck in my head now from earlier in the show when Kenneth Davis was on and Berlissimo was commenting on the show about a surprise that we're going to be seeing. And so I prodded him to get an answer, and he said, "You'll see on Saturday." So I don't know what this big surprise is going to be, but needless to say, he's got my spidey senses tingling, and we're still 30, 48, about 60 hours away from kickoff, from Saturday at noon, and I just can't wait. A lot of people on Twitter have earmarked this game being the revenge game against Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry. I was a big Trubisky backer while he was with the team, and I don't wish him any ill will at all.
Exactly.
If he gets sacked 5 times, and we get 2 picks on him, I'm not going to be disappointed. I really won't be. But I wish the kid well. He just got married in the off season. He had some maybe some poorly worded phrases in a press conference about a week ago about being with a team that cares about its people. And you cringe when you see that the Bears changed almost their entire offensive coaching staff in order to try to get Trubisky to be successful with this offense, and it just didn't pan out. So that said, it's just time to turn the page on Mitch, and hopefully, like I said, 5 sacks, 2 picks, maybe a forced fumble and a scoop and score. Against him, wouldn't be bad to see, at all. One that you do a lot in the draft. You do a lot of mock drafts. Are you ever going to come back to our turf? You had a lot of things going on in your life and had to back away for a while, but God, I miss your writing. And I know we had collaborated on a couple of pieces, which was a lot of fun. I'd love to see you get back in the saddle.
You never know what happens. I haven't given it too much thought, but I've been thinking a lot about it this year. So we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Be a good year to come back, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
And you also dabble, if I remember correctly, you do a little dabbling, and this is an area that I have absolutely no desire to get involved with, and I'll explain in just a minute. But fantasy football is a little bit of a passion of yours.
It is.
And although it's a little bit too early to ask you who you drafted, because drafts usually don't happen until the week before the regular season begins, because you never know who's going to be on what team. But if I was going to ask you for advice for fantasy football, specifically to what Bears I should look for as a sleeper in the fantasy world, who would you direct me to?
I would probably, depending on if the Bears hold 3 tight ends on the roster, Jesse James would be a sleeper for me in the tight end. And with the wide receiver, that one's kind of tricky because you've got 4, but I think it would probably be Demarius Byrd if they play him more than they do, depending on how Mooney does, obviously. But you're going to think of the wide receiver one is going to be Robinson and Mooney, and then you'll have Goodwin and Byrd. But I think that's where you go. And then, but my biggest one would be Khalil Herbert. If he's going to be on it as a definite running back that's going to switch with Damian Williams and Montgomery, he might be a sleeper. But I think he's going to be used more on the either kick return or punt return. So it depends on how they're going to use them. But I wouldn't handcuff any players, not with the Bears at least. And the only reason is because I'm not sure what Nagy's going to do. He always says he's going to run the ball more, and then the next he's abandoned the run game. So it's kind of hard to handcuff a running back and a wide receiver with the Bears. But we'll have to kind of see what happens there.
Are you going to sit Justin on your bench in fantasy?
I am. I am not. I am going to be one of those that will take probably 3 quarterbacks and keep Justin on the bench just in case he gets in it. Then I'm sure going to play him.
You had mentioned, of course, being out in California. Matt Stafford is coming to LA with a boatload of expectations.
Right.
But this is a guy that the Bears have played really well against. Yeah, of course they faced him 2 times a year. They beat him last year. Even though they had a lead late in the game, but their defense was tanked. Because guess what? We had an offense that couldn't keep the defense on the bench long enough to get rested, and they kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter. But overall, the Bears defense knows this guy pretty well, and I'm almost surprised, knowing what I know about the Bears' effectiveness against Matt Stafford and what the Bears defense has done against the Rams, especially in 2018, where Jared Goff was never the same quarterback at the rest of 2018 after the Bears did what they did to him on it was a primetime game here in Chicago. They've played him. This will be the 3rd year in a row they've played him out in LA. So, and of course, LA has won the last 2 games playing on their home field. So I think that as you said, with the Rams maybe looking past the Bears a little bit, thinking this is going to be this is a win that's in their hip pocket. Let's look ahead to I don't even know who they're playing in week 2. Maybe you can tell me. But if the Bears defense is what I think it's going to be, and with the Bears offense not showing anything in the preseason, but with the speed that they have, with the quarterback situation that they have, I really think that this could be a real fun game to watch Sunday night.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I know that the Bears defense will not, and even the offense. I think Nagy is definitely not going to take it for granted because Stafford is obviously a way better quarterback than Jared Goff. So it's going to be a different, he's going to connect. Now, granted, Stafford didn't have that great of an offensive line when he was with Detroit. They didn't really give him the weapons that he needed to do what he knows how to do. But at the same time, Stafford was really good at throwing interceptions. So it's going to see. Obviously, he's going to have a whole new offense. This is going to be completely different. And being that Sean McVay is very aggressive in his play calling and so on, he's kind of turned that over. He's given it to somebody else. And I just want to see if Stafford is the same Stafford, if this was just a change of scenery that he needed, or it's just the same player and the Bears know him so well that wherever he's going to go, they know where his eyes go. They know his body language. And yet they also know the offensive line for the Rams. So they're used to that as well. So they kind of have an advantage, I believe, because they've played against Stafford for so many years. And then they've played against the Rams for the past several years. So I think they have the means of being able to make it competitive. But again, we'll see. Is it going to be one of those games again that it's going to be all defense and a small scoreboard? Or is one of these teams going to just become explosive and we're going to see what is going to transpire in the beginning of this year? So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the Rams will do going through the preseason, but to see what the Bears will do in just getting past a lot of these teams up front. But it'll be interesting to see what Stafford does and if he takes the Rams to a different level.
The Bears know the Rams offense. Be in addition to the fact that they know Stafford, but the Rams don't know the Bears' offense.
Right, that's true.
Okay, because when the Bears line up on offense, they probably have 9 new starters in the lineup versus the last time they played them. At least if you look at the starting lineup from week 1 to week 1, the entire offensive line is going to be different. You might have a couple of guys that were in the lineup, but in different positions on the offensive line. You're going to have Cole Kmet as a starter as opposed to Jimmy Graham. You're going to have Darnell Mooney as a starter as opposed to Anthony Miller. You're going to have Allen Robinson. You're going to have David Montgomery. And, of course, the quarterback is going to be different. So there's 8 guys.
Yeah.
There's 8 guys on the field to start that game that the Rams didn't line up against last year. So it's going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, and that mystique of the unknown that Nagy usually takes advantage of. Look how he snuck up on the league his rookie year in 2018. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting, Wanda, to say the least. So Wanda, I hope I get to start seeing some more writings from you. I hope you come back to our turf, or if not our turf, maybe another venture, even if you do your own blog. It'd be great to see because you're a very talented writer and your knowledge of the Bears is just top notch. So tell our viewers where we can find you, at least on Twitter for the time being.
You can find me on Twitter. My handle is WandaW63. So you can find me there. I'm usually tweeting about the Bears or just kind of joking around with other people just to make light of situations on Twitter. But you'll see me a lot during the season making some observations, assessments, and supporting my Chicago Bears. And
hopefully we can have you back on our show during the season.
I would love it.
All right, my friend. That wraps up our show for this week. I want to thank my producer and co-host, Ivan Vargas, who I think is in the background there. Kenneth Davis from That's Davis and the Under Center podcast, and my good friend from California, Wanda Whiteman. We will see you next week with another episode of Halatek Hall, recapping the game against Buffalo and previewing the last preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. Until next week, this is Michael Halatek from Halatek Hall saying, bear down.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of TixSplits?
Who?
TixSplits. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TixSplits.com today. TixSplits.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TixSplits.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.